If you have never been to Marbella, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a place where the mountains meet the sea, where the old whitewashed streets of a medieval town sit just minutes away from some of the most glamorous beach clubs in all of Europe, where you can spend your morning wandering through a centuries-old square, your afternoon on a sun lounger sipping something cold, and your evening on a yacht watching the sun disappear into the Mediterranean. That place is Marbella. And today, we are covering all of it: the food, the beach clubs, the boat rides, and everything in between. Whether you are planning your first trip or your fifth, this is the guide I wish I had before I arrived. Getting there and first impressions. Marbella sits on the southern coast of Spain in the region of Andalusia, part of the famous Costa del Sol. The closest major airport is Malaga, which receives flights from across Europe and beyond, and it is about an hour's drive west along the coast to get into Marbella itself. You can hire a car, grab a taxi, or take a bus, but if your budget allows, hiring your own car is absolutely the move here. The roads are beautiful, the coastal drive is stunning, and having your own wheels makes everything easier when you want to explore the surrounding area. The moment you arrive, something shifts. The air smells different, salt and jasmine and something vaguely floral that you cannot quite name. The light here is extraordinary, that particular golden Mediterranean quality that makes everything look slightly more beautiful than it has any right to. White buildings, terracotta rooftops, palm trees lining wide streets. Marbella announces itself quietly and then very quickly stops being quiet at all. The Old Town. Where you start and keep coming back to. If you have one non-negotiable on your Marbella itinerary, it is this: spend time in the Old Town. Casco Antiguo, as it is called locally, is a maze of narrow cobblestone streets covered in bougainvillea that spills over the whitewashed walls in bursts of pink and purple. The streets are barely wide enough for two people to walk side by side, and every corner you turn leads to another square, another small fountain, another cafe with chairs spilling out onto the pavement. The heart of the Old Town is the Plaza de los Naranjos, the Orange Tree Square. It has been the social center of this town for over 500 years, and even today, it is the kind of place where you can sit down at a table under a canopy of orange trees, order a coffee or a glass of wine, and genuinely feel no urgency to be anywhere else. In the morning, it is calm and unhurried. By the evening, it fills up with people. Music drifts out of restaurants nearby, and the whole square buzzes with that particular energy that only outdoor dining in the warm south of Spain can produce. Spend at least a morning here, ideally two. Walk without a plan, let yourself get turned around in the streets, and stop at whatever catches your eye. That is the correct way to do the Old Town. The food scene. What to eat and where. Marbella's food scene runs the full spectrum from simple, perfect tapas to fine dining that draws people from across the continent. Here is where to start. For breakfast, skip the hotels and find a local cafe in or near the Old Town. Order pan con tomate, toasted bread rubbed with fresh tomato and olive oil, simple and extraordinary, alongside a café con leche. This combination will cost you almost nothing and will absolutely set the tone for the day. In Andalusia, breakfast is taken seriously, and the local version of it is one of the best starts you can give yourself before heading out. For lunch, go to the beach. Not a beach club necessarily, just find one of the local chiringuitos, the small, informal seafood restaurants that sit right on the sand along the shoreline. Every chiringuito worth visiting will have espetos on the menu, whole fresh sardines skewered on long sticks and cooked over an open fire of olive wood right there on the beach. It is one of the most iconic food experiences in all of southern Spain, and it costs almost nothing. Grab a half portion of espetos, a plate of gambas al ajillo, prawns sizzling in garlic and olive oil, and a cold glass of white wine, and eat it sitting about 20 feet from the water. That is an experience that will stay with you for years. For dinner, Marbella has everything you could want. The Golden Mile, the stretch of road connecting Marbella to Puerto Banús, is lined with restaurants ranging from solid traditional Spanish to high-end international cuisine. In Puerto Banús itself, the marina is ringed with restaurants and bars, most of them good. All of them entertaining to sit at simply for the spectacle of watching super yachts drift past while people in extraordinary outfits walk the port. If you want a recommendation that goes slightly off the beaten path, Look for smaller restaurants tucked into the streets just behind the main port area. The prices drop, the quality stays the same or gets better, and the experience feels much more local. For dessert, find a heladeria and get a scoop of whatever looks freshest. Spanish ice cream made properly is some of the best in Europe, and in summer, the quality at good local spots is outstanding. Tarta de queso, Basque-style cheesecake, has also become something of a phenomenon across Spain, and you will find excellent versions of it throughout Marbella if you know to look. The beach clubs. The real Marbella experience. Let us talk about beach clubs because this is where Marbella really earns its reputation. The Costa del Sol has always had a glamorous beach culture, but over the last 15 to 20 years, Marbella specifically has developed a beach club scene that rivals almost anything in the Mediterranean. The big names here are Ocean Club, Nikki Beach, and La Cabane, among others. Each one has its own character and its own crowd, but the basic setup is similar across all of them. You reserve a sunbed or a daybed in advance, and advance booking is genuinely important in high season. Usually June through August. Settle in, and the service comes to you. Drinks, food, DJs that start slow in the morning and build through the afternoon, and a general atmosphere that hits somewhere between a luxury pool party and a very well-organized day at the beach. Ocean Club is probably the most famous, known for its afternoon pool parties that turn into full DJ sets by mid-afternoon, with a crowd that goes from relaxed to very much dancing by about 3 in the afternoon. If that sounds like your thing, it absolutely delivers. Nikki Beach has a slightly more international crowd and a gorgeous setting, with its white canopied beds along the beach and great food alongside the club atmosphere. La Cabane sits on the beach in the Marbella Club Hotel area and has a more relaxed, upmarket feel. The kind of place where the music is good but never overwhelming, and you can actually hold a conversation over lunch. Spending a full day at a Marbella beach club is one of those experiences that sounds excessive until you are actually there. Lying on a comfortable daybed in the Spanish sun, music playing at exactly the right volume, a cold glass of rosé in hand, the Mediterranean stretching out to the horizon in front of you. And then it feels absolutely necessary. A word on budget. Beach clubs here are not cheap. A daybed reservation often comes with a minimum spend, which can range from around €50 to several hundred, depending on the club and the season. Factor that in and plan accordingly, because trying to do a beach club in Marbella without a proper budget behind it tends to take the enjoyment out of it. Boat rides and day trips on the water. This is non-negotiable. You must spend at least one stretch of time on the water in Marbella, and there are several ways to do it depending on what you are looking for. The most popular option is a boat trip along the coast, and there are companies. A typical trip will take you along the coastline, past the glamorous beachfront villas and the beach clubs seen from the sea, and often out toward the Gibraltar Strait area where the Atlantic and the Mediterranean actually meet. On a clear day, you can see the coast of Morocco from the water. The Rock of Gibraltar appears to the west. Dolphins are genuinely common in these waters. Sightings on boat trips are frequent enough that most operators will tell you about them up front. And when they appear alongside the boat, it is one of those moments where everyone on board suddenly forgets they were mid-conversation. If you want the private experience, Puerto Banús is the place to start. The port is full of boat charter companies offering everything from half-day rentals to full yacht charters with a crew, catering, and an open bar. A private boat for a group for a half-day is genuinely more affordable than you might expect when split across several people, and it completely transforms the experience. You choose where you go, drop anchor somewhere quiet, jump off the side into clear blue water, and spend a few hours doing absolutely nothing useful. It is exceptional. For something slightly different, the boat trip from Marbella to Malaga along the coast is worth doing if you have a flexible afternoon. It is a longer trip, about 2 hours one way, but the coastal scenery is spectacular, and it gives you a completely different perspective on the whole stretch of shoreline you have been exploring from land. Puerto Banús. The spectacle you have to see. No trip to Marbella is complete without spending time in Puerto Banús. It is a famous marina, one of the most famous in the world, and it is a spectacle unlike anywhere else on the planet. Rows of super yachts sit docked along the quayside, growing progressively larger as you walk further around the port. Some of them so big they look less like boats and more like small apartment buildings that somehow learned to float. Ferraris and Lamborghinis idle through the narrow port streets. People dress as though the nightclub starts at noon. The thing about Puerto Banús is that you do not have to spend serious money to enjoy it. Walking the port costs nothing. Sitting at one of the cafes along the marina with an espresso and watching the whole spectacle unfold costs very little. The entertainment value is extremely high regardless of budget. People come here from all over Europe specifically to be seen, and the result is a kind of theatrical, performative glamour that you genuinely cannot find anywhere else. At night, it comes alive in a different way entirely. The port restaurants fill up, the bars start pumping out music, and the whole place shifts from daytime spectacle to full evening event. If you go once for lunch and once for drinks at night, you have seen the full range of what Puerto Banús offers, and both visits are completely worthwhile. Day trips. Worth taking. If you have more than a few days in Marbella, the surrounding area rewards exploration. The most famous nearby trip is Ronda, a dramatic hill town about an hour inland by car, built on the edge of a deep gorge with a bridge that looks like it should not be possible. It is one of the most photographed places in all of Spain, and the drive there through the mountains is genuinely beautiful. Go for a morning, have lunch in the town, and come back in the afternoon. Malaga is worth a full-day trip if you have not already spent time there arriving. It is one of the most underrated cities in Spain, the birthplace of Picasso, home to an extraordinary contemporary art museum, fantastic food markets, and a vibrant street scene that moves at a very different pace from the beach resort energy of Marbella. Take the coastal drive there rather than the motorway if time allows. Gibraltar is another option for a half-day, a British overseas territory sitting on the tip of Spain that is genuinely one of the strangest and most interesting places in Europe. The Barbary macaques that live on the Rock of Gibraltar are famous, and walking around this small piece of Britain transplanted into the Mediterranean coastline is an experience that is hard to describe and impossible to forget. Practical tips. Before you go, a few things worth knowing before you arrive. Marbella in peak season, July and August, is extremely busy. Prices are at their highest, and reservations at beach clubs and popular restaurants are essential well in advance. If you have flexibility, late May, June, and September are often considered better months to visit. The weather is still excellent, the crowds are thinner, the prices are lower, and the whole place feels slightly more at ease. The old town is walkable, but the greater Marbella area is spread out enough that having a car or relying on taxis makes things significantly easier. Ride apps work here, and cabs are generally reliable and reasonably priced by European standards. Dress code matters in Marbella more than in most beach destinations. Beach clubs expect guests to be put together. Puerto Banús at night has a clear expectation around how people present themselves. This is not a flip-flops and a t-shirt kind of place in the evenings, and dressing the part adds to the experience rather than feeling like a requirement. Marbella is one of those places that rewards you for arriving without a rigid plan. The best moments here tend to happen in between the things on your list. An unexpected conversation in an old town square, a sunset scene from a boat that you almost did not book, a plate of espetos on a beach you found by walking too far in one direction. The food is outstanding. The beach clubs are unlike anything else in Europe, the water is extraordinary, and the energy of the whole place in summer is something you have to experience to fully understand. Go once and you will understand why people keep coming back. Hit that subscribe button if you want more travel guides like this one, and I will see you on the next trip.